that was the other happy moment of my life. But we need to be able to make these sorts of advantages for ourselves too. So a good way to look at this is that we want to basically frame issues in a way that makes it favorable for us, so that more people are going to support the way that we frame it, or our position on the issue, rather than our opponent's issue. That's essentially, you want to drive a wedge to the electorate and get as many people on your side as you can. And you want to do this because it creates a distinction. How often have you heard people say when you give them a phone call or a door knock, all the candidates are the same, I'm not going to vote for any of them? Yeah, all the time. We hear that all the time. It's because we aren't delivering a message that offers enough distinction to these voters. They don't know what the stakes are like we do. You know, they are not the kind of people who go to a training on Saturday morning, who are part of the 1% of the 1% of the population who does crazy things like this candidate training. It's really easy for us as people who are doing this stuff day in and day out, or eating and breathing and sleeping it and working it as hard as we do, to lose sight of the fact that most people in the state of Florida across the country don't pay attention to politics. They hear what they might catch in between episodes of Law and Order late at night, on news or something like that, or some commercials that come on during campaign season. And what do now? They just TiVo, they fast forward through it because they're tired of hearing it. And I don't blame them, because all that stuff is just really divisive sounding, and it's awful. So we need to be able to cut through that in some ways and be able to help them understand what these stakes are. So if you're looking at the economy as a wedge issue, you might say Republicans believe that if you give Mitt Romney another tax break, you will get rich. Which doesn't make any sense. The Republican platform doesn't make any sense, but I digress. Democrats believe that if we increase the minimum wage, things will be a little easier for you. That's a good way to drive a wedge, because that's going to give, if you were to ask people whether they support that or not, you'll probably find that 89% of people will agree with what you just said. And they'll come to the conclusion that the Republican platform does not make any sense. It is really incoherent. How would a tax break help for Mitt Romney? How would a tax break for Mitt Romney help me out? It wouldn't. So that's the kind of messaging that we should be doing. Which will help you more, another tax break for Mitt Romney or increase of the minimum wage? Those are the kinds of things that we should be saying more when we're doing phone calls and door-to-door. So you should use wedges for particular issues when you're talking with particular audiences. So we were talking about spaghetti sauces earlier. If they like a particular sauce, you want to give that to them, and you want to give it to them in a wedge format, so that not only are they hearing what they want to know more about, but they're also going to be more likely to join your cause when you're talking about it. So a great example right now, the environment. Amendment 1. Oh my goodness, I can't believe what the state legislature is doing with what happened with the Amendment 1 in the last election. All this money that we appropriated to go to purchasing more land for conservation is now being used to just fund the operations of those areas and Rick Scott's projects and those kinds of things. And so a way that we might frame this as a wedge would be Rick Scott, or if you're running against a person in State House right now and they're a Republican and they voted for the budget that that appropriated all these dollars from Amendment 1 and are putting them towards not purchasing land and conserving it, but the operations of the state government, you could say, my opponent
stole.
My opponent stole funds and
for their own personal slush fund.
I care a lot about the environment, and I want to make sure that we're conserving land so that we'll have it for generations of Floridians to come. My opponent, however, stole funds from our land conservation budget and instead gave it over to millionaires and billionaires who wanted tax breaks.
For manufacturers.
Tax breaks for manufacturers.
That's what you did.
Yeah. So that's how you create a wedge issue with something like the environment. And so if you're talking with someone who cares a lot about the environment and you frame it like that, they're going to love you for it, and they're going to probably vote for you. We just need to be able to do that for every single voter in your district. Figure out what they care about, and then figure out what message will work best for them, and then figure out how to get that message to them. That's really what an election comes down to, is delivering that message to people who need to hear it. If you need an idea about what issues we want to be able to frame, these are the biggest ones in the state of Florida, as identified by the Florida Democratic Party. This doesn't mean that I support education and jobs and healthcare and working families, but it means that you, at least if you're trying to figure out where to begin with building your platform, the FDP has provided this. And they're going to be providing more substance on this to give you some ideas of how you can frame these different issues because of the work that the LEAD task force has done across the state. And I think you're on the LEAD. Yeah. Would you like